Okay, first things first. So what's your title?
Well, I guess I'll be known as a rapper. I'm from Flint. My name, a rap name, This Life We Lead. Um, as far as that goes, I think that's what you want to know, right? Far as the title.
Yes. And so you are a rapper, and
Yes.
give me a little bit about your background, or a lot about your background. Where did you go to school? Grade school, middle school, high school? Bring me
Yeah.
back to Flint.
Well, I went to Flint Southwestern from like 7th grade all through high school, and I played sports there for the most part. And then I graduated, and I went to a few different schools, but I graduated from U of M. And after I graduated from U of M, around that maybe like 23 age is when I started to get back into rapping. I had stopped for a while. I was making beats through college, and I kind of got back into rapping. So I'm a little bit on the older side with the rappers. Probably I'm like 35, so I just turned 35 like a few weeks back. So I'm a little bit on the older side with most of the rap game in Flint right now.
Okay, so happy birthday.
Thank you.
Which year did you graduate from high school?
2003.
2003, and you went to Flint Southwestern Academy for high school?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
you went to
At
U of
that
M
time.
Flint.
And say what?
You went to U of M Flint?
Well, I went to a few different schools for basketball. I went to Wayne State. I went to Saginaw Valley State, and my mom passed, so I'm dropped out of school, and I went to Michigan Dearborn down. I'm down in Dearborn because my brother went to school there, and I could live with him. So I went there with him. Then I got my own stuff, and I still played basketball there for like a year. And then I graduated, and I just stayed down here because it was just at that time, that was like 2011 or so. It was a much better scene for work and for music.
Okay, so in 2011, you got back into music.
Yep. It was around that time when I started to say, because I was working with some friends from Flint, and they were like, well, let's work on some and let's start just doing songs for the hell of it. Like, we're just sitting here in this apartment, not a lot going on. Let's work on some music again. And they knew that I made beats, and I was like, well, all right, cool. So I'm doing that around 2000. I really want to say I started doing that around 2009, and around 2011, very little progress with the people I was working with. So I just kind of said the heck with it. And we all kind of said the heck with it, and we went our separate ways, and I just kept going on my own as This Life We Lead, because, I think as a competitor, I was like, I don't want nobody to tell me I can't do something, So I said, I'm going to finish out on what we set this, do at the beginning.
How did you come up with the name?
Oh, well, we had a different name as a group. It was like Everybody Is a Star, and I hated the name. And what ended up happening was I had like a local deal. It was some guy from out of town. He saw one of the songs online. He called me up and was like, hey, I want to work with you. I think you guys got something. I'm great. And I was like, well, at this moment, everybody broke up. And so when he was like, hey, I'll give you a lot of money to work on an album. And for me, a lot of money was like a few grand at that time. So I said, okay, sweet. So I took the money, I finished on the album, but the guys' business plans were terrible. Like, they made 0 cents. It was a lot of I'll pay somebody for views. And I'm like, well, that's not going to work. And so we kind of ripped up the contract, but he kept the name, which I didn't care about because I never liked the name. So when he took the name, I just sort of have brainstormed some names, and This Life We Lead stuck with me just on a simple fact that I felt like, okay, if you want to do on this music game, you can't wait for somebody else to hold your hand or lead you. Like, you got to do it. Like, if you want to do whatever, you got to be the leader of it. You can't just keep on saying, well, me and my friends are going to work on this, or me and somebody's going to work on this. So I just kind of took it into my hands as well. If you're going to do it, you got to be the leader of it. So This Life We Lead ended up just becoming the name, at some point, so I stuck with it, and it's so far it's been working for me. Like, cause a lot of people always say like where the name come from, or they could kind of sense that it has a bigger meaning than just a rap name. It's not just a rap name. Like, this is my rap name. Like, I want the name to connect with other people more than just with me. I want them to be able to like feel that they're leaders too, in some sense of the way, you know?
So Shemi,
Yeah,
Shemi gave me your name, and
yeah.
one of the things that I've been wanting to ask all of the rap artists who I interview is, who are your favorite Flint rap artists? So if you could send me a list of
Yeah,
your
I see you with this.
okay, or so off the top of your head, who were your top? I guess two or three.
Well, I'm growing up. I believe their name was Scambino Mob. I was in like seventh grade, and I had a classmate, and her brothers made this song, and it was on the radio. And I believe the song was like, "I'm better have some killers on your team." So I'm in seventh grade, and I got my classmate is like her brother, and we in school. I'm just rapping this. So those are one of the groups that I really was just like, hey, like I know somebody that raps on the radio, but you know, also for me, I enjoyed all the Dope Boy, and that was like 1,000 Bars and Apollo, Mass Money, folk like that. Um, like the whole crew of Dope Boy, because shoot, eventually I got sort of friends with him. One of my best friends was in Dope Boy, and he was 19 at the time, and they were like probably like 5, 6 years older than us. So when you're 19 and somebody's like 25, 26, and you're looking at them like, oh my God. And they were doing shows and selling out in Flint, and you know, all those sorts of things where I just was like, you know, for me, it was like those sort of people, because like I didn't get into rap until later. I wasn't like 7 years old. I'm running around Flint. I'm rapping about all the rappers in Flint, or even rap in general. Like my mom, she wasn't having me, or even saying I could listen to rap all that much. And my dad played jazz all day, so it wasn't until I got to like a middle school where I was at a more of a black school, I should say, because through elementary it was me being like I'm the only black kid. So none of my friends really played rap music. I'm like that through elementary. But when I got into middle school, it was like a whole new world. Like it was, folk was listening to rap music and they was cussing. And I was like, oh, I got to be like this. So I kind of hopped over and I was like, okay, well, I got to like Jay-Z now. And I started to like a lot more rap music. But like for the Flint rap, it really didn't kind of get me till about seventh grade on up. So I really, like, I'm growing up, I wasn't on like all the old Flint rappers, even though I know them now. It's like they didn't kind of raise me. You know, it was like I wasn't listening. I can't lie. Like I wasn't listening to them back then. You know?
No, don't lie. So, could you tell? I'm going to ask you some questions about flow, but before that, I want to hear about how do you come up with your music, the process.
Well, yeah. Well, and it's a very good question, because like I was working on a song this morning, and I really a lot of times my music ends up being just reflection. Um, um, I'm I'm the type, I don't write for no reason. Like I don't just sit around the house just I'm going to write in my book. Like I write when I'm about to write a song. And a lot of times it's just when I got some type of inspiration. If I'm going through something, if I had something happened to me, or a conversation, more than likely, like a conversation, I'll be able to pull out of that and make something. A lot of time, well, last year I dropped an album called Drink Responsibly, and the album came on the heels of like me and my last relationship, where I was gonna hopefully marry this girl, and I had the ring and stuff, and then we kind of broke off, and I had to deal with a lot of like, okay, finding myself, and I end up making my album off of those feelings and what I was going through. It wasn't so much about her. It was like I had to find myself again. So I ended up making on my album after I could like sort of collect myself off of everything that I had sort of been through. I'm being like single, but not just I'm dating, like finding me. And so, is it working still? Okay. All right. So a lot of my songs end up being just from like life experience, or through observation and conversation. Like, but I still don't go over on the edge and rap about something I know I'm not for. Like, I'm not gonna rap about guns and killing people. Like, my real job is a teacher. I'm a school teacher. I'm rapping about that life. Like, I'm in the classroom, but it's always about reflection about life. Like, hence with the names to on this life we lead is like it's always about reflection about life and what I've been through or what somebody probably close to me has been through, and I can see their growth or maybe not their growth or not my growth even.
You're
I
a
think that
teacher
makes
where?
sense. Huh?
You're a teacher where?
Oh, I teach in Southwest. It's on the edge of the city of, well, for Detroit. So I teach for DPS, but it's a little, I'm so big in Detroit, they got like all these little sections. So I teach in Southwest Detroit.
What do you teach?
Social studies.
Okay.
So 6 through 8. Yep. 6 through 8 social studies.
Okay. Okay. So you don't teach music?
Nope. 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 I don't. I wish I did, but the way schools are now, they've been like shutting them out anyway.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So, uh, what do you think of when you hear the concept flow?
Well, first thing that pops in my mind is just like a rhythm and like how you kind of like weave a story together. It's like the ways that you kind of showcase your wording and things like that. But like when I hear it, it's just really like how you weave the story together. Like, because for me, like songs are just that. They're like I'm telling some type of a like folk tale almost, and it's just like how you weave it together, how you like can say these words that are telling some type of a situation story, but you're doing it in such a way where somebody wants to listen and care about it.
So when you're weaving together a story, in the music making process, do you start with the words first, or do you start with a beat or a
I
rhythm?
start with beats.
Okay.
Yeah, I start with beats because like one of my things I'm learning in the music game, is you got to give them different flows or rhythms in the song, and I've had to learn that over the years. Like, because when I first started out, like I just was kind of straightforward with the rap, and over years I had to like kind of switch up the flow some because music is made by so many people now, and you're hearing so many different styles and like flows. So I had to like learn and build on that. But I normally start with a beat, and then now I allow myself to just kind of like lose myself in the beat, where I'm not so much thinking about is somebody else I'm going to say he's trying to sound like this, trying to sound like that, where I'm able to just kind of just be myself now and just like flow with the beat more than anything else. Just kind of flow with the beat, and those words just kind of hit the paper on their own.
So can you give me an example using one of your songs where you really liked your flow?
Um, I would probably say Vibes. I got a song called Vibes. Um, I would say it's probably one of my favorite songs. And I like the way I flowed on it. Number one, because I've never approached a song that way, and I knew it was going to be different for me because I had an attitude about the things in my life. So it came off in the flow a little, and I had a little bit more of an attitude in the song, a little bit more of I want to say of some cockiness, and it came off in the patterns, in the rhythms, and things like that or whatever. And it just it just flows really well. Like, it's probably like 3 years old now, but it's still is one of my like most played songs I think online, and I still get a lot of people still say like that's my favorite song from you. And that was like one of them songs where I was like where I was like, you know what, I don't care what nobody says, because I'm normally thinking like, well, as a school teacher, I don't want to rap like this because they'll say something, or I shouldn't be doing this. But it was like one of the first times when I was like, I don't care no more what nobody says about me, like trying to rap and and my day job. It doesn't matter, like if they're gonna be mad about it, I don't care. So that song for me was the one. It's just like even now when I sit back and think about that song, I still say like I don't know how I came up with that flow. Like I have no clue how that came out. When like if you heard my like first album and then you heard on that record, you would say to yourself too, like, well, how did he switch that up? Because my first album was really kind of pop rap because I was like still kind of scared to say I rap. And when I did on that record, it was like, okay, this ain't even the same guy. Like, and it wasn't like I tried to do it. It just I started to just I guess let myself feel the flow and not try to be too afraid of what I could do. That was one of the first songs where I was like, don't be afraid of like how good you possibly could be, or you're trying to like shrink yourself because you're not known as a rapper or this like hood guy, so you can't rap like these other guys because I don't sell drugs or something. It's like, nah, you can do that. Like it's, all the words are still me. All the attitude is me. It's just like, but that's the first song where I was like, oh, I can switch it up. I could do something different.
What was it about that, I guess, that occasion where you created that song? Um, so another thing that I'm looking at is mental flow. Like, how does an artist get into the mental flow in which he or she they create a song? What was it about that day that you created vibes that gave way to the cockiness?
Well, it was a period. It was I had dropped my like first project, and I'm lucky and blessed enough to do a ton of shows. Like I mean, I was doing shows opening up for a lot of like way bigger rappers. Huge rappers.
Oops, you're breaking up a little bit.
And it was around 13, I want to say, or oh, is it working? Is it
Yep.
okay? Okay, so it was around 2012 or I'm 13 where I was doing all these shows opening up for like big names. And what ended up sort of happening was me and my friends who were doing all these shows was like we had a big stage show. Like I don't know how we pulled it off at that time period. We had like shoot a mascot on stage and we had everything and we were opening up for like rappers for like a couple thousand people. And it was like we should not be doing this, but and we were like crazy lucky where we had folk around here who were like, yo, I like what you're doing. And I was like, okay, smooth. And what ended up sort of happening, like all my friends around me at the time, like they didn't see that this may still take another year. It like just because we're like opening up right now in front of 2,000 people don't mean that we're rich or that we're set. It still may take another year or two. It's like a lot of the game that we don't know. And a lot of my like friends at that moment, I don't think they had the mindset of like keep going, keep sort of grinding, and it started to become a little bit negative in the circle of like, well, we got another show, but it's just opening up for this dude here or that dude there, or we're not moving fast enough. We're not moving fast enough. Like we should already be on a big thing right now. And it's like, man, well, hey, I'm the first one that dropped the album. I don't know how this game supposed to go, but I know we doing a lot of stuff that ain't nobody else doing. So let's just ride this out. And it started to become a ton of negativity, which I'm the opposite of negativity. Like I'm just like, hey, I like to hang. I like to have some cool vibes. That's it. I don't want no bad vibes. And like it just was like these friends I grew up with, we just started to become like super negative. And I think it was a time in our lives where we were all like boys going into men, where you were like, okay, I got to figure out my life. Like we're like, I'm 25, 26, 27. And it's like, okay, like I need to make some money. I need to do these things or whatever. And, and we were like hoping on the rap thing and it didn't take off, even though we know it takes time. Like we could like kind of taste it, but it didn't take off how everybody in the group or in the crew wanted it to. And when it didn't, just all the negativity. And I kind of, we, that core of individuals kind of all went to do their own things. Like some people went to go produce, some just went to do whatever. And for me, I end up saying, okay, well, I'm gonna work on some new music, and Vibes end up being one of the songs. And it was that type of an attitude that I just had. Like, the song was not about anybody. It was just the attitude that I had from the people at that time or whatever. Like, they gave me that type of an attitude of just like, screw y'all. Like, you're mad because we're not on tour right now. Like, that's what you're mad about, but we just got off stage, but like a couple thousand people, signing autographs and blah, blah, blah. Like, it takes time. Like, I dropped my album shit in January, and by June, we're in front of like 2,000-3,000 people. Like, that don't happen normally. Like, and we had no connections. But after me and my friends kind of had our little, I don't like you no more type thing. And a lot of us are back friends now and we work together. But I wrote that song in the midst of all of that, all that attitude of just like everybody just, I'm bringing all the negativity.
So you said that your first album was more pop rapish. What is your sound? How would you characterize your sound now?
Now I want to say it's pretty much just like good vibes and like maybe like style in the sense of like actual like fashion style music too. Like I like to like dress, thrift shop, things like that. So is my power out this time? I think the power went out in the house. Yeah, the power went out hot. So that's like kind of what ended up being the situation. I'm trying to plug in so my phone won't die. And it looks like the power went out in the house. It's been kind of hot. I figured that would happen soon. But yeah, so the music kind of is just like feel good music. And it's a lot of it is about just life. I want to say possibly for like the millennials, if that makes sense. I think it's stuff that is relatable for like people living from like, who are like maybe I'm 25 to 40. It's like in that ballpark, but it's just, for the most part, good vibes. It's not really about I'm tearing down somebody else or like I'm better than you. It's just kind of like, hey, this is what life is about, but in the same sense, it should make you feel good. So it's like things that I think a lot of people can relate to, but it's just about relatable, feel good, stylistic music, if that makes sense,
Yeah, and I liked your song Tropicana. That was a lot of fun. I watched the video earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, so do you identify at all as being a Flint rapper?
You know what? It's like hard because I don't identify. I'm living down here in the city of Detroit as a rapper from Detroit. Flint has unwelcomed me on the rap scene, even though I'm not in Flint every day. They unwelcome me because I'm from Flint and I'm go to Flint all the time. But even in that sense, it's not like I don't think I'm the typical Flint rapper. I'm from Flint. I'm born in Flint. I'm basketball in Flint. But rap wise, I'll be honest, like I got a lot of my the beginnings of like me being a rapper down here, and not even from like the hoods down here in the city. It was like initially me moving down here, I was hanging out at like top 40 clubs and bars, and me and my friends in like 2008 and 9, all we played was on Pharrell and like anything that came out of Pharrell, like anything like, I love Pharrell since he first came out and since I found out he was doing stuff back in the 90s. So my sound has always been kind of like the outlier. Like it really hasn't been the Flint sound. It really hasn't been the sound of the city of Detroit. Normally folk a lot of times will say, oh, you sound like you from Cali. And not even like on rapping wise, like on the beats I may say, I want this type of beat, or I get a lot of times I talk to people in New York, so I get a more so bigger cities, kind of like we get this sound. You know, Flint or Detroit, they got niche sounds, and it's normally a little more hood than me, and I don't fit it. But I think it's dope. It's just that that's not my background. Like it's just not on my background. But I think Flint welcomes me. I get love from Flint, from like the DJs, and I think from folk that are like me. Like I think the hood in Flint probably don't even know about me. Like I'm the hood in Flint, I'm sure they don't know. You know, I bet if someone said like, "Have you heard of This Life We Lead?" And they gonna say, "Nah." But you know, I've been on the news, I've been here, I've been shooting magazines, I've been in papers, but it's like a different. It's still the rap game, but it's a different part of the rap game. You know, it's like it's just not the same almost, but it's still in the rap game. But it's like, well, that's like a different section, and I'm a different section of it, or whatever. I think Flint messes with me though, but I'm not sure all the time. So
So you said that Flint and Detroit have niche sounds. Can you describe each of their sounds?
um yeah, well, you know, it's hard to describe on the production of it. You know, Detroit has had like a specific sound for like as long as I've been around here, and even before. Like I remember coming down here shooting high school, and we used to be like, man, that music different. And Flint, like I remember, like I said, I'm listening to like, you know, shit, Dope Boys and their sound, and they had a producer named Benji, and like I ended up getting really cool with him, and like his beats was like insane to me because he would use like, you know, like you could tell he knew how music was for real. Like, you know, he knew like shit, piano chords and things like that. He wasn't just kind of hitting you with just a dope rhythm and some heavy drums. Like he was hitting you with like some keys and throw a little sort of bass line in there. I'm like, damn, like this what I'm looking for. And I got to work with him, but like for me, I'm like, hell, I was just happy to work with him because he worked with Dope Boy, and I love Dope Boy, and I was like, damn, you know, and you know, he used to always make these beats. I'm like, damn, how is he making this beat? And I mean, and this had to be around 2007, 8, and 9. But I'm not like, yo, this dude's sick, and I ended up getting cool with him around 2011 or 12. Um, but like Flint and Detroit, they both got their sounds. It's like Detroit, I always like it's always just like sort of faster beat with sort of piano keys, and I don't know, like it definitely works for him. Like it's like I can't think of the name of what's the name of the producer, but you got people like Sada Baby where like he makes me laugh a lot, like, and I mean I think that's what he goes for at times, but like he's dope. But you got rappers in Flint who got like similar ways, and you also got some that got their own style. Like I mean, recently there was a song in Flint that was going off. I think it's called the Coochie Song or something. And I mean, but it's like, I mean, it's just a different vibe or whatever. Like it's not what I would do, but when I hear it, I'm listening to it and sort of out of my head, and like hell, I mean, my friends was playing it another day. It's just like a different vibe. It's like I always look at it as like when you hear like certain rap music from the hood, it kind of shows how the hood is having fun. You know, a lot of times when folk think of the hood, they think of like negativity and things like that. But sometimes when you actually listen to the rappers from the hoods, like, and you hear their lyrics all the way, you could hear like not the pain no more. You could hear like the laughter and the talent in it. Like I mean, they be saying some stuff that makes you laugh in these songs, but it's like a real bar. But it's like that was super fucking clever. And it's like this, like okay, these people are like crazy talented though. It's just like I think they get put in a box too because it's like they think of the like this is the hood, but like I be hearing them, I'm like, man, this is either like super funny and it's still dope, or it's just like the way they are telling their stories. it still is like entertaining. It's, you know, but I know up front people give it a certain type of look, like, oh, it's just like hood music. It's like, nah, like, you know what I mean? I can see on what you may see off of the image if you ain't in the hood, but when you listen to it and break down some of the lyrics, you're gonna laugh and smile too. like I get it. Like they just having fun or whatever. They just having fun ass music.
So how often are you in Flint?
I go, if not on the weekends, I'm, you know, still in Flint like at least once every other week. My family's still there, and since we've been actually on lockdown, I've been there more often or whatever. And some of my friends, like one of my friends, he does all the beats and beer stuff, and I'm at all of his events for the, you know, for the most part, just this summer. And since we've been locked down, you know, haven't had a chance to like do those events, but you know, I normally get good opportunities to perform in Flint. Like I performed before Wale last year. I did a couple festivals last year in Flint. And so I'm there still. I'm quite often on the music scene, and I'm friends with like a lot of the artists still, you know?
So is it Brandon Corder?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, okay. Yeah, I know Brandon. Um, so my last question, Stephen, is so what's going on now? What are you working on?
Well, actually, I'm working with Brandon Quarter. He just started his label, so I'm working with him on some things. And I'm not even sure if he wanted that news out or not, but we're working on some stuff, and that's what I'm recording to this morning because I got to send him some records, and that's who I actually started working on music with. Like me and him started making beats in 11, 12th grade or something like that. Like we got some crazy stories there. Like, but he was my first friend in middle school. He was the first friend who said, like, and we were in math class, and you know, I got a speech impediment. So in 7th grade, I stuttered and I was like not talking to nobody. So he looked at me on one day, and this had to be the first week of school. I'm not sure, the first week or the first day. And I wasn't thinking about no girls. I just wanted a friend. Like I need a friend. It's a whole new environment for me. And somehow, even me being, I'm an athlete and sort of playing basketball, I never hung with basketball players as often as I just hung with dudes I thought was just cool folk. And Brandon was the first friend I had, and the first thing he said to me, I think, was, "Do you like Jay-Z?" And I was like, "Yeah, I like Jay-Z." And then it was like, "What's your phone number?" And then me and him would be on the phone every day, just talking about music, and like we would be talking about stuff from the 70s all the way up to that point in the 90s. We would be saying, "Hey, you hear this new beat? It's by Kanye, by Pharrell." And at that time in the 90s, we were for sure talking about probably Timberland. We were saying, you know, can you hear all the sounds in this, like, you know, in the beat? Like, you know, here go the cowbell, here go the kick, here go the hi-hats, you know, like all this little sort of random stuff. And so we've been friends since that point, and we've, you know, just throughout the course of growing up to being a man, go up and down, and we just like figured things out and been still the best of friends. And like he's doing stuff now with Beats and Beers, and also with the label that he has. So you know, I'm working on some stuff for that right now with hopefully the potential to do something large. Like, you know, I've been fortunate enough to work with some great folk. I think I've made some great songs. I think a lot of people that make music make great songs now. I think a lot of people make great, like I don't know nobody that doesn't make great songs. I know people that make songs in their home but don't ever put them out, they still make great songs. I think a lot of folk don't know the business, and they don't know how to get in the game correctly, even with their great song. And I've been lucky enough to work on great songs, but also have other friends around me that are also working on their part that they're passionate about. I'm good with business, but I haven't done things that other people have done in the music business. Like I haven't said I'm gonna move to New York, I'm gonna move out to LA, I'm gonna move here, I'm gonna build this. Like I've built some great connections. I know some celebs, I know some dudes that got some Grammys, but I haven't got the door in all the way to say let's put Banks on this record here. But I got folk like, you know, my friend where he's working on stuff where he's like, hey, if you stay on your shit, I can help you. but that's up to you to stay on your shit. So I'm like on my shit now. So I'm working on some new music. I wouldn't say it's a project. I think I'm just working on like a ton of singles. And I think once I get those out this year, next year I'll probably hopefully be locked in back to work on something. You know, it didn't even make sense to make a project now because I'm locked down. Where can I perform it at? Like I can't do anything. I can't do a festival. And that's really what my goal is. Like as a rapper, and I already know 35 years old, but I've been in the game and I've done things. So I'm like super credible, but still as a rapper, I'm like, hey, you know what? I have to figure out my niche at 35 because 35-year-old, like newcomers somewhat, if I was like, to take off, they would still say that I'm a newcomer. Where do you fit? You know, and my thing for the last 3 years has been like, you know what I want to do? I want to be on the festival circuit. Nobody asks how old you are. Like they just want to hear that dope shit. People only care about the age you are when you trying to should appeal to some high school kids or some middle schoolers. I don't care about that. Like I want to play these festivals, and like that's the goal right now is like make a music that hopefully the people you know can help you out get to that next step, and you can build your name up still on your own. Like, but still, I want to get on that festival stage. Like, I dropped Black Lives. If you heard on that record, because I don't have it on YouTube or not. I dropped a record called Black Lives during, all the riots, and I'm not even that type of a rapper at all, where I'm like super conscious, but you couldn't help but to see what's going on in the world. And me being a Black man, and I'm not real emotional, but I started to write. This is one of the few times when I just like, I'm writing. And I had a beat that I've been sitting on, and I wrote this song called Black Lives. And I wrote this record. I put it out with the mindset of, well, number one, every rapper is going to try to get off and make a Black empowerment song right now, because that's marketing. That's just being smart. Let me go make a song that people are probably going to listen to because we're all in the house. And if I make a Black power song, people are going to get into it. And I was like, well, I don't want to make a record to be cheesy or corny. But I wrote on this record, and as I'm writing the record, I'm telling myself, don't write it, Steve. Like, don't write a record like this. Like, this is the opposite of you, and this is like crazy corny. But on the back of my mind, I got voices from some of my friends who have sort of made it, and they're making money off their art, and that's all they do. And they are living up in Cali, and they like, man, you gotta just always be yourself, 100%. Like you can't give a fuck how somebody thinks about you. Whatever song you feel like I'm making, if it's being vulgar or not being vulgar, you gotta be you. So this record kept sort of coming, and I put the record out, and I said, hey, all the proceeds from this record are gonna go to schools in Flint and the city of Detroit. And I put the record out. I made over like $1,000 on it, and I end up getting in the Metro Times on the for the thing, and I put that out, and then I got hit up by the news, and I had a news clip, and I'd never been on the news before, and I was like, okay, I'm on the news for rap as a teacher, but they didn't even know I was a school teacher. They just was like, yo, we heard you made this song. And then when I'm on the interview, they're like, are you a teacher? I'm like, yeah. And they was like, oh shit. So I end up, even with that record, finding a different layer to myself that now, when I'm not even afraid, like I think I've made enough of a fucking footprint locally where no one can say like, who this old ass dude rapping? It's like, nah, like he's solid. Like he's giving back to the schools and communities. But when I rap, I'm also rapping about whatever I want to rap about. Like you just said, like you were watching Tropicana. Like that doesn't say that I'm a school teacher. That's just like, I make records about whatever I want to make them about. But on that recent record, on Black Lives, helped me get into a better mental state and really say, all right, bro, another level of like super confidence of like you could rap your ass off and you can make a record about Black empowerment or whatever, and it don't gotta be corny or look like it's a reach. And you can also use some of the talent and skills that you've been given and give back to other people and say, hey, I'm gonna take this money here and I'm gonna buy this for these schools. And I actually spoke with the schools yesterday, and I'm going to go and give them, I'm not going to give them some money. I'm going to give them some curriculum to use with the kids so they know more about Black history actually. And but like, so from that point, you know, it was like, all right, you know, you see what you're doing and you see what you can do. Now it's time to like make the next step, and hopefully with the people I know and the people who believe in me, we can go from being like more on the local Midwest scene or whatever to being like, you know, you go on some much bigger platform, because I've done well for myself, but now it's like I need that help. So hopefully I'm with branding and things like that and reaching out, like I'm trying to get something done more. That's like a lot. Just I just said a whole lot, but I hope that makes sense.
It does. It does. Okay, so I do have I hopefully question because I got to get going here. Um, did rapping, did music help at all with your speech impediment?
1,000%. And my dad says it still. He says, I don't know how the hell you rap with no problem. But sometimes when you talk, you like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, man. But even as a kid, when we were freestyling like school, like friends would peep it out. Like, yo, when you rap, like you don't stutter. So I love to like, I won't say freestyle with my friends, but I enjoy the thrill because I play hoop. So I enjoy showing them up a little bit every now and then with a freestyle, because they like, okay, for one, all you do is hoop, or you can't even fucking talk half the time. And it's like, but when you rap, and it's like, I ain't messing up. Even if I'm doing shit a show, for me, it's just like a little bit of a challenge. It's just like, yo, as soon as you get that first word out your mouth and that crowd is in your hand, like no one would know. Like nobody would know or whatever that you got this thing or whatever. And it's like, it's sort of fun or whatever. It's like that a moment where I know, like, you know, you feel, I guess in a sense, like you feel like, hey, I don't have this speech impediment right now. Like it's not real no more. Like, cause you live with it your whole life and you deal with it. But when you get to hop on that stage, you're like, what speech impediment? This shit ain't no speech impediment. It's like, I don't want to say this word, but it's like this. It's like, I feel normal. You know, I feel I'm normal. I feel like 100% I'm normal. Whereas it's like, I felt like a lot of things I wanted to do in my life, I was scared to do it. Like I wanted to work for Congress. Like I'm growing up, I was like, I want to work for Congress. And I talked myself out of it at like, I'm 15, where I was like, you can't do that. Like you can't even fucking talk on stage. How are you going to get on stage? And, you know, I talked myself out of it. And it's always been a lot of things where I'm like, well, I can't do nothing like that. Like I want that job as a reporter, but you can't even ask a question maybe, you know? And it was odd for me to even say I wanted to be a school teacher because you talk for, you know, shit a living. But I think that has helped me do better on stage because every day I'm in front of people, blah, 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 blah. And then I go on stage, I'm doing the same exact shit. But I would probably be terrified to go on stage if my job never allowed me to speak to people for, you know, for my living.
That's so fascinating how your mind works in your artistry.
Yeah.
Um, so when did you feel like your speech impediment was gone or wasn't wasn't
Well,
noticeable?
it's still there, you know, like
Wow,
I'm
okay.
doing it.
Hmm.
But it's, you know what, it's the confidence thing, because it's like shit, anxiety or whatever, you know. But it's like the confidence, it's one of them things where, you know, when you get on stage, you know, I own this motherfucker right now.
Hmm.
I own it. Like, you know, at my shows, I make people like laugh. Like I'm on stage, I'm cracking jokes. Like I'm not in my mind like I'm the typical. I'm not trying to be too damn cool. I'm just being me.
Like I'm not trying to be like extra on stage. I'm gonna make jokes. I'm gonna do whatever, and then I'm gonna get in this, in this record still. Like I'm gonna do the record, but I'm gonna make jokes. I'm gonna make you like sort of laugh, and then I'm gonna do the record. After the record, I might tell a story, but it's like I think when you see that most folk really want to see you do well, you lose all of that. Like folk are rooting for you, even when you think that they're probably not. Like nobody truly wants to see you fail when you're up on stage. Like no one, like I go to shows of my peers all the time. And even though we're like somewhat in competition, but we're really not. But I know that's like the attitude of a lot of local acts around the world. Like you feel it's like, it's no competition. And it's like, I want you to win. I want you to do it. I don't want to see you up on that down stage fucking up. I don't want to see that. And for the most part, I don't think nobody wants to see that from me. So you just feel like I feel more free up on stage. And it's like the one time where you're allowed to do what you want to do, because most of us work for somebody else. And I can only say so much in the classroom. It's only so much I can say. Like, if I got to teach shit religion, I got to make them sure I'm not trying to make you this religion. I'm just explaining religion. I got to use my words carefully. I got to say this the right way. I don't want to should offend somebody. When I'm on stage, it's the one time when I can say whatever I want to say. And I'm going to offend somebody anyway, because I'm not that type of individual. But I can say, I can say shit. I can say I'm jokes. I can make folk laugh. That's the one time when it's like I feel free. And I don't got to overthink any of my words. Because sometimes when I would stutter, I'm overthinking the word. What word will say? What they want to hear me say. On stage, I can say whatever. In the classroom, it's almost like, okay, I've been doing it for so long now. That just sort of flows. But the first years, I was just all over the place. But being on stage, it's really just that freedom. Folk want to see you do well, otherwise they wouldn't be at the show. You feel the energy, and as you do it more and more and more, because now I throw a lot of on my own shows, and when I see 100+ people show up at my own show, I'm like, damn, 100+ people took time out to come see me. You feel the love. Why are you nervous? They're there to see you, so that's for me, it's I'm the joy of this is the one sort of moment where you don't gotta be nervous, have anxiety. You can just feel good about shit, because why not? They're here to see you. They're here to show you love. Even when I was opening up for folk 6-7 years ago, and it's I'll be honest, at this time it's 1,000 white kids in the audience, and we're not used to that, because we didn't go to concerts. I'm growing up, so we come down here and we man, we got a show for so and so up in it's your Royal Oak. I'm okay, we go in this venue and it's sold out, but it's 2,000+ white kids, and I'm whoa, I don't know what to expect at a rap show. And they're they never heard of me, but they're just there to have a good time. They're fucking cheering you on the whole time. Why are you nervous? There's no reason to be they'll dance to any damn thing. So it's they just want to have a good time. Anybody that goes to a concert. So it's just have a good ass time. And I've learned to look for that. Hopping on that stage, it gives you that freedom, and my mind just kind of I don't gotta hold myself in no more. It's you can do you, man. You can have fun. You can make music. You can laugh. You can joke. And for the most part, you'll be supported and be loved for it too. So just have a good time,
Thank you, Stephen, or CB. You've given me so much mental flow, so
Oh,
so much content that I'll be able to use in that subject area. But I must run. Thank you so much for your time. You've been really
no,
gracious.
thank you.
You've given me
I'm
lots of
sorry
stuff.
too. I'm sorry for the mix up. I was out, I'm looking at the house, and I was thank you. And then you hit me about, oh shit. I was I'm all over the place. I'm so sorry, but thank you so much for understanding too.
Oh, no worries, no worries. I get it. I get it. Um, yeah, I'll be in touch about the media release form and then
Yeah, I
your
gotta sign
top
those things.
10.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So you have a wonderful weekend
You
and
too.
yeah, I'll chat with you. I'll be in touch.
All right. Thank you. Have a great
Thank
day.
you.